Hey guys, welcome to Pop Culture Fuck Mary Kill. We're your hosts. I'm Brandy Johnson and she's Kristen Gunn. Every episode, we break down the good, the best, and the absolute trash in pop culture and decide which one is our fuck, marry, or our kill of the week.
Now, as you guys know, we are not fuck, marry, or killing people, but rather pop culture stuff that's going on this week because we're classy ladies.
It's the classic game you know and love, but this time it's got a little pop culture twist.
All right, Brandy, let's get to it. But before we do the FMKs of the week, I know we don't have any calls, but I do have a couple of follow-ups from last week.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. The first one has a visual aid. So,
Okay.
Hold on to your butts. All right, so before I show it, this is a light spoiler for Killing Eve if you are already not caught up. If you're not caught up already with Killing Eve.
Oh, man.
So last week, I guess you're caught up, right? I should have asked that.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So last week, one of your fuck of the week was all of Villanelle's costumes or amazing wardrobe from the most recent season of Killing Eve. Now, completely stand that choice. I wasn't actually totally caught up when we were talking about that. Now I'm caught up to even, as of this week's episode that dropped. So this frame is from the most recent week of Killing Eve. It's Villanelle sitting on her half little brother's bed, if I have the relation right. I was kind of confused with all the family stuff. So one thing that we didn't talk about too much, we talked about a little bit, but as I was watching the most recent episode this week, it gave me such a new heightened appreciation for the nuance and the depth of the show that there are so many times there are really dramatic, like if you're just reading the script, it would be like a serious dramatic moment. So in this particular scene, we don't know it quite yet, but she's sitting in her family's home, and her mother, who she's got a very strange, intense relationship with. Her mother sent her to an orphanage when she was young to get rid of her. Her mother is about to arrive at home, and they're gonna meet up for the first time since she was a child and she was left at the orphanage. But while that's happening and the drama of that, she's wearing this half of an Elton John costume because her half brother loves Elton John so much. And so it's just so goddamn great that in a lesser show, they would just give it that dramatic moment, and it could potentially be cheesy or it could potentially be melodramatic or overwrought. But the fact that they juxtapose the comedy of these costumes with the seriousness of the moment is just everything. There's another moment later on when she and her mother are having a confrontation, and she's wearing this like 1980s, like, what your grandma would put you in when you're like 10, like heart smock, like baking outfit. And it's just everything to me. And so there's even some more that comes right at the end of the episode with a 80s jean jacket jumpsuit. So totally here for it. And the fact that you called this out last week as your fuck, like, it just made me even more attuned to it to really appreciate this week's episode of Killing Eve. So thank you.
Yeah, good follow-up. This made me laugh so hard whenever I watched this week's episode. They never miss a beat. Yeah.
All right. And then what was my second follow-up? Okay. So second follow-up. Are you caught up? I'm not caught up on Run, but I started watching it after we talked about it last week or the week before on the show. Are you caught up?
I am not caught up. I actually have 2 episodes I need to watch.
Okay. I've only watched 2. So
okay, so I've seen those.
All right. So mild spoilers for what I know about, but probably not anything that isn't, intuited by the trailer. I don't know, man. I was like all pumped and like, woof. It wasn't really maybe just because you loved it so much and you were talking about it, maybe I had higher expectations, but like to me it didn't seem interesting. It just seemed like some people who want to fuck, and like it didn't, like I wasn't interested in them. I wasn't interested in the story. Like they kind of seem like bad people that I don't care about.
Yeah, I mean, that's totally fair. My husband feels the same way. He's like, I just, I think we've seen four. I feel like we've seen four episodes maybe. Um, but he kind of felt the same way. He was like with each passing episode, he was like, I just don't know. Like, it's really not, like, it's grabbing me less and less every week. And to be quite honest, this past Sunday or this past Monday, when we were like, what do we have to watch? And I was like, oh, we have Run. It's on the Hulu DVR. It dawned on me that we actually had two. And the week prior, I hadn't even remembered to watch it. So like, I really liked the first set. And then I think something happened with like the fourth episode where I was like, the plateau hit and I just sort of fell off because the story hadn't taken off in the way that I had hoped. So I totally hear you. It's a totally valid assessment and follow up. I don't know. I'll probably just like binge the second half just to see how it plays out. And I think maybe waiting week to week also doesn't help. It's the way that story is set up because it's not like incredibly cliffhangery or dynamic or anything like that. But yeah, I totally hear you.
Yeah. And also, again, this is a little bit of a spoiler for the second episode. So like when Merritt Weaver is like, feels rejected by redhead guy, and she's like goes and finds the other guy to just like pretend to fuck. I'm like, I mean, maybe I'm just really naive, but I'm like, does that happen? Like, Rome and I watched it together actually, and I turned to him and I was like, do people do this? Like, is this a thing that happens in the world? Because like maybe sometimes, because nothing doesn't happen, right? Everything has happened, but like, it just seemed so like such a like get my like jump to conclusions mad and like jump to a thing. Like it just seems so like unbelievable to me that like even at that I was like, I don't know, but maybe I'm just really naive. Maybe that happens all the time. Maybe women like just go up to people and like, hey, you want to fuck? And the guy, like super hot guys, like, sure, let's go fuck. And then when she's like, just kidding, I'm a little bit nervous about this. And he's like, you know what? It's okay. We'll just sit here for a while. And then like at the end, he's like, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to like say some really sexy stuff to see if we can fuck, but I'm going to be a real gentleman about it and then just leave. Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't find that many problems with it. Like, sure, was it kind of outlandish and like maybe we hadn't seen that before, but I feel like we've probably seen the reverse of that in a movie or a show where a guy did something like that with a girl. And we definitely, or at least maybe 50 or 80% of that scene a guy has done. That's kind of what I liked about those first three episodes, is that Merritt Weaver's character was doing things that typically a male's character would do in other things that we've seen. And so I liked that she did something even as crazy as it was and like probably is not believable. Like we've probably seen men do that in other movies and shows, just like walk up to some girl on a train. I mean, I'm just now watching some James Bond movies for the first time, by the way, and I'm just like, this guy fucking sucks, and so do most of the women in these movies, because he just like looks at them and they're like, sure, let's fuck. And I'm just like, okay. So that's kind of probably why I'm thinking this way, but I didn't have as many comments with that scene as you did. But
I'm so two things and then we can move on. I'm glad you mentioned that about like we always see guys doing this stuff, so it's cool to see Merritt Weaver doing it. From episode 1, when they like meet up and then she's like so hot that she goes and finger fucks herself in the bathroom, I was like, girls don't do that. Like a man clearly wrote this because maybe some woman at some point somewhere at some time has done that, but like that's not a thing. And internet, tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm really naive, but like I talk about a lot of randy shit with my girlfriends, and like no one has ever in the scope of reality of any point mentioned like, and then I was just so hot I had to go finger fuck myself in a train bathroom. Like that doesn't even look fun. That looks gross. That looks like how you get a yeast infection.
ew.
Well, I'm just dropping truth bombs, Brandy. And the other thing I don't remember because I probably just really grossed you out, so we'll just move right along. Move the train right along.
That's okay. We started with me last week, so we're going to start with Kristen this time. Kristen, speaking of fucks, what is yours this week? See that segue?
Oh, it's good. Okay, so I'm going to show you a clip.
Okay.
I'm toying with whether I want to tell you and then show you the clip or show you the clip and then tell you.
I feel like we always do the tell and then show, so why don't you show me first?
All right.
So I talked to Phil Kasikoff today.
Phil Kasikoff?
Yeah, you know, my friend, the bra salesman. He says they're looking to maybe put somebody on, so I got you an interview next Friday with his boss.
Next Friday? What time?
2:00.
That's my whole afternoon!
For sneakers. You can look for sneakers the next day.
He doesn't know anything about bras.
I know a little. Besides, what do you have to know?
Well, it wouldn't hurt to go in and be able to discuss it intelligently. Maybe you should take a look at a few bras. Where's your bra? Give him a bra to look at.
I'm not giving him a bra.
Why not?
Because I don't need him looking at my bra.
Fine, so he'll go into the interview, he wouldn't know what he's talking about.
We have to.
You don't even know what they're made from.
They're made from lycra spandex.
Get out of here. Lycra spandex?
I think they are made from lycra
You
spandex.
want to bet? How much you want to bet?
I'm not betting.
Take a look.
All right, I'll get a bra.
I don't know what the big problem is, getting a bra.
Doesn't want to get a bra.
I'm not saying go to the library and read the whole history, but it wouldn't kill you to know a little bit about it.
It wouldn't kill me.
How long does it take to find a bra? What's going on in there? You ask me to get a pair of underwear, I'm back in 2 seconds. You know about the cup sizes and all? They have different cups.
Yeah, I know about the cup.
You got the A, C, the D. That's the biggest.
I know the D is the biggest. I based my whole life on knowing that the D is the biggest.
Yeah, here's the bra.
Let me see it.
100% lycra spandex.
Let me see
I
it.
told you. There. Think you know everything.
That's surprising. All right, what else? You got the cups in the front, 2 loops in the back. All right? I guess that's about it.
I got it. Cups in the front, loops in the back.
So I know we've talked. You're not the biggest Seinfeld fan. I can respect that choice. But I will say, so unfortunately, Jerry Stiller died this past week, passed away. He was 92. Ben Stiller, his son, put a really lovely tweet online about it. And it really made me think about my favorite moments of Seinfeld. I don't have the same loathing that you do for it. I get why people don't like it, but I think it's got some good moments. But absolutely, bar none, the best thing about it are the parents, both George's parents, who are played by Jerry Stiller, and Jerry's parents as well. And I think it's really amazing. Like, you watch that clip now, and it's like George, like he's probably like 35 in that, which is weird to think about, that, you know, because you always see people when you're young that are in things and you think they're like so old, and then when you're that age you're like, well, shit. And it's like all of the funniest, most cringeworthy moments about like parents are parents, like they just capture that so well. And it's so cool to see that something that was even made like 30 plus years ago still has that to it. And Jerry Stiller was just like amazing in that role. It was the role, even though he did many great character moments, it was the role he was born to play. And so I guess I want to just give a fuck to all of the character actors out there. You know, Jerry Stiller at the forefront of that list, and how much they deserve to have a little slow clap appreciation.
That's nice. And I want to clarify, I do not loathe Seinfeld. I just don't find it funny, and it's not one of my shows. For the record, if you're not watching this on YouTube and you're just listening, throughout that entire clip, Kristen was progressively laugh crying harder as it went on. The stoicism on my end remained the same from beginning to end, but Kristen was just progressively falling apart because of the hilarity between the Costanzas. Yeah, I think that's a really great pick. I do think that Jerry Stiller is a hilarious character actor, so I agree with you there. And character actors are so underrated. And I can appreciate that Seinfeld, hits a very specific mark for you. And I'm glad that you shared that with me.
You looked like you were laughing. You didn't think that was funny?
I had a couple of slight chuckles, but overall, I thought it was fine. I was not laugh crying like you were. No.
Oh.
Seinfeld's not my bag. In the Venn diagram of all the things that you and I share in the middle, Seinfeld is squarely on your side of separate things.
I would wager to say if you had seen that scene outside of this, like knowing nothing about Seinfeld, you would have thought it was funny, because that's pretty damn funny.
Maybe so.
All right, Brandy, what's your fuck this week?
Okay. My fuck this week is season 12 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Ooh.
Yeah, I've never really talked about Drag Race on the show in depth, but we are barreling forward towards the top 5 and the grand finale. Spoiler alert, I'm going to have probably some mild spoilers for the latest season of Drag Race, so skip ahead a few minutes to the Marys if you don't want to hear any of that. This season in particular has been really interesting to watch, and the reason that it's my fuck is because there have been a lot of really wild, joy-filled moments, particularly because they've had some really, really, really strong queens that have been really different in their aesthetic and also their comedy, and also their roster of guest judges this season has been crazy good. So every season on Drag Race, they always have guest judges come on for each episode. They range from B and C-list actors and actresses to comedians to stars within different communities to politicians and gay icons, etc. This season in particular, just some of the notable ones that I wanted to call out that have really brought me a lot of joy. They had an episode where Jeff Goldblum and Rachel Bloom were on it together. Rachel Bloom was a star of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, who is hysterical and so funny. And to see Jeff Goldblum interact with some of these queens, like it was like he had been plucked from Earth and then put onto a different planet and was like learning how to speak and interact with a different species. But they were all just like so happy to be figuring out how to live together. It was the most bizarre thing, but it was so fun to watch. And then at the end, during the lip sync battle, he was crying at one point. He was so overwhelmed that he was crying. They've also had Leslie Jones, huge Drag Race fan. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's also a huge Drag Race fan. She was on the show too. Robin, the singer. Whoopi fucking Goldberg was on the last episode. And she was a great judge, great mentor. They were having to do these 5-minute one-woman shows. And she was there to sort of mentor them and give advice as they prepped and practiced their show. And then she was also a judge for the runway and the show. And she was giving such good advice. And all I kept thinking was, like I would rather die than make a fool out of myself in front of Whoopi Goldberg. And like some of these queens were just like bombing so hard. Like it's so cringy, but it's also just so much fun. Like I'm so grateful that this season happened to hit like shortly after quarantine started happening, because every Friday night it's like, well, Saturday morning because we buy it on Apple, but like every weekend it's like I get an hour of pure, just like straight into my veins heroin of Drag Race. And this season's just been so great. It's got two of my favorite contestants ever, Heidi in Closet, which is a terrible name, and also Crystal Method. They're both two total whack jobs, and they've really leaned into like, I'm just who I am. I'm weird. I'm here. Like, I'm just going to do me. And I'm just going to kind of get out of my head, but I'm just going to fucking do me. And they do some weird fucking shit, but it's really working. And they just make, like, they're just such pure queens. Like, I don't know how to describe it besides, like, they're just really pure in their journey on the show. And they just make me so happy to watch. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to see how they do the finale in quarantine. I'm not really sure how that's going to work, because usually it's like a big old thing. They fill up like a big theater in LA. They have thousands of attendees. They do a big show. And so I'm not really sure how they're going to do that. I'm not going to spend this time talking about the scandal that's plagued season 12 with Sherry Pie. You can Google that if you want. Obviously, that's been a black plague over this entire season. That's not why this is my fuck. My fuck is about all of the good stuff with season 12. So yeah, Drag Race season 12, chef's kiss. That's why it's my fuck.
Where do you watch Drag Race?
So we bought the season on iTunes. So we watched it on our Apple TV every Saturday morning.
Okay.
It airs on VH1, but if you don't have cable, then you can't watch it unless you like buy it like we do.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm curious. So I haven't actually watched since season 3, because I like think that's when I dropped my cable, and like it's just one of those like, oh yeah, I need to go back and watch that because I loved it and it's amazing and all of the things. But it's like changed. I like the last season I watched, I think it was still just on Logo. Like I don't even think it had made the jump to VH1 yet, so they didn't have the bigger budgets or anything. So would I need I mean, I know it's not serialized, so can I just jump straight in, or do I need to like?
Oh, you can totally jump straight in, but I also think that a handful of the past seasons, maybe not some of the most recent, are on Hulu that you can watch.
I think some of them are on Netflix too.
Maybe, and also there's like so many other drag versions. So there's All Stars, which I think might be on Hulu or Netflix. There's Drag Race UK. They're launching a Drag Race Canada like this week or the next week, which one of the hosts is one of my favorite queens from one of the past seasons, Brooklyn Heights. And then also in a couple of weeks, they will be, presumably when this season of Drag Race ends, they will begin airing the new season of Drag Race All Stars. So lucky for us, we are just really settling in for a solid quarantine of Drag Race content, and I couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, gives me something else to add to the list.
Yeah. Okay, Kristen, what are you marrying this week?
All right, so this is a really big marry for me. Like most weeks, I'm like, okay, I could marry this thing. This is like, I have been waiting for this motherfucking proposal for years, right?
Okay.
I mean, I actually have been waiting for this for years. So I will just go ahead and show you a clip. And this is actually something I don't know that we've ever talked about, which is kind of exciting too.
Okay.
Hey, are you guys medicated?
Of course.
Hey, hold it.
That's good to know. Yeah. Just because I feel like I've been having a hard time just like readjusting to everything.
Dory, can we just not? Just want to have a normal day, talking shit about strangers.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's okay though that we check in with each other, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I just am sort of the philosophy right now where I think it's best to not think about it and keep moving forward, and that's working great for me because I've never been better.
Which is exactly why I'm trying to really just bury myself in working on my book right now. Speaking of which, my editor is introducing me to my entire publishing team today, and they're considering turning my life into a board game.
Oh my god!
Great. I just keep Google searching like Montreal body count. I mean, aren't you guys a little freaked out about getting caught like any second?
You know, I read online it takes years to get over killing someone. So the best we can do is just carry on.
I don't have anything to get back to. I don't have a partner. I don't have a home. I literally have less than I had before I started looking for Chantal.
But to look on the bright side, you found her.
Yeah, thank you for that.
All right. So I was gobsmacked to open my news feed the other day and see that Search Party season 3 will actually be happening on HBO Max. So I'm going to have to get an HBO Max subscription, but I don't fucking care because I am so happy for that show.
Oh.
Yeah. So Search Party actually started in 2016. There are 2 seasons, 2016 and 2017. It was on TBS. TBS was not the right channel for Search Party. It was way too intelligent. It was way too dark. It was way too like millennial snarky. And so like I at the time I remember being so annoyed that it wasn't getting the credit it was due, and knowing that was because like if this had been on like an HBO or a Netflix, that like everybody would be talking about it all the time. But because it was on TBS, it just kind of like never really took off the way that it could have. And so the season 2 ends in a cliffhanger, and then there was just nothing. There was just no news. There was nothing about it. And then there was a convention that some of the actors went to, and they said there was going to be a season 3 on TBS, but then there was nothing again. And so I just kind of had lost hope. But the next season is going to pick up right where the other season left off. Have you watched Search Party at all?
Yes, I watched season 1, and I think I watched season 2. I can't remember if it was what I finished watching was in season 1 or season 2.
That clip is from season 2.
Then no, I think I maybe only watched part of season 2 then.
There's a really big cliffhanger at the end of season 2 that you probably would have remembered. I mean, it was a long time ago, and a lot of stuff has happened. We're in a pandemic, so a lot of stuff has happened.
Spoiler alert if you haven't watched seasons 1 or 2 of Search Party, because we're going to talk about some stuff right now. The last thing that I watched is, I know that they killed Ron Livingston, and then they were trying to cover it up. Does that happen at the end of season 1, and then season 2 was about the cover up?
I don't think I watched any of season 2.
Okay, maybe I just watched season 1 then.
Yeah. Which season 1 is a tight season.
Yes, it's perfect.
Yeah. I will say the way that season 2 ends, which I will not spoil for you, I was like, really?
Okay.
You know, season 2 didn't end with like, oh my God, I just can't wait for season 3. I'm going to jump off a bridge if it doesn't happen. I was like, oh, whoa. Okay. But it did end in a pretty significant cliffhanger. And so you shouldn't, because you, Brandy, and any of you, dear listeners, who might be in Brandy's situation, that you haven't watched season 2, but you've watched season 1, don't go read anything about season 3 because they spoil in season they spoil season 2 with what, like, basically where it starts in season 3 is like a big, I don't like
I see.
The only trailer I have seen, and the reason why I didn't play this on the show, the only trailer I've seen for season 3 is like one of those word trailers that's just like,
Sure.
words on black with like little audio clips, and it's like nothing, so it doesn't do a good job of explaining the show at all. But I think that's because they don't want to spoil what happens in like the first 10 seconds of the first episode of season 3. It comes out, I think, June 26th. It comes out like soon, which I'm also super pumped about because it's like good programming for the summer. So excited about that. So this Mary, I've just been waiting so long for it. Cannot wait. If you haven't watched Search Party Season 1, treat yourself. It is amazing.
Cool. Well, I'm definitely going to watch season 2 now. I couldn't remember if I had watched it or not, but yeah, I definitely will watch it. I think it's so funny. And I think that one actor, John, the blonde guy.
John.
Yeah, Early.
Yeah.
He is so funny. And I mean, I like Aaliyah Shawkat too. I like them all. They're so funny, but he is just such a funny guy. Really, really good, Mary, Kristen. Thanks for bringing that to our attention because I would not have known that.
All right, Brittany, what's your Mary for the week?
Okay, I'm really excited to share this with you, Kristen, because I'm pretty sure it's something that might be your kill, and I love it when we disagree. My Mary this week is Dead to Me, the Netflix series. They just dropped season 2 last Friday, and my husband and I have already watched all the episodes of season 2. And I have something that I want to show you, a video I want to share with you, but I want to talk a little bit about the show before I share it with you. So Dead to Me stars Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate, 2 absolute legends in the TV film biz. I don't really know anyone who doesn't like either of those women, but they're both just so exceptional at everything that they do. And Dead to Me, season 1 is, I'm not going to try not to spoil anything, but it's about their friendship, and Christina Applegate's husband is killed, and season 1 begins with her grieving over her husband, and the show is just sort of about female friendship and grieving, and there's secrets and mystery and all kinds of stuff therein, but it's really just kind of about grief, family, and all the things that get wrapped up into that crazy stuff sometimes, and what you might do and go the lengths you would go to protect your family, especially in a time of grief. It sounds like a real downer, but the reason I like Dead to Me is because it is such a funny, smart, quirky, fast, dense show, and you don't think it's going to be that kind of show when you first start it or when you watch the trailer. It's such a surprising show to me, and that's why I like it. The performances from Linda Cardellini and Christina Applegate are both so incredibly layered. I mean, it is like every episode is like a little onion. It's just like, oh, wow, there's something I hadn't seen. Oh my God, there's something else. Like the performance that they're giving, both of them, is out of control. Like they're both just doing so good. Like the work that they're doing is so good that I like watching them perform. And the show was created by a woman, Liz Feldman. 90% of the episodes are written by women, and almost all of the episodes, from what I could find, only maybe like 2 or 3 out of the 16 or 20, I can't remember if the seasons are 8 or 10 episodes, were directed by women too, which I also love about the series. But I want to show you a clip because I think it'll help illustrate kind of why I like the tone of the show too, because I wouldn't say it's a feminist show outright, but it has a tone about it that I know that it was created and written by a woman, because we just don't get characters that talk like this. You can tell, because like I found myself watching it and I think, God, like I thought that in my head. Like I'm so glad that she verbalized the thing that I wish more women on shows would verbalize or would do. And I like that a lot. And that's one of the reasons why I like the show. So I'm going to share this video with you really quick.
So none of them masturbate on a train because they're just so horny?
They don't do that on this show, no.
Great. Yeah, definitely written by a woman then, if they don't do that.
So you just get to do whatever the fuck you want?
Yeah, I do. Don't ever tell a woman that she is overreacting, okay? Because most of the time women are underreacting. This is my reaction, which means that I am reacting perfectly.
It's not my fault. She's crazy.
Okay. She's not crazy. You treated her like shit, so she was driven crazy.
Miss, we really don't need that kind of language.
Please don't call me miss. That is annoying. I'm a full-grown fucking woman.
Just take some items out. Do you really need 8 bottles of wine?
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you the wine sheriff? Because I am the dick police, and you have the right to remain fucking silent.
Hey there.
Oh, God.
Do you guys want to dance?
What the? No, thank you.
You sure?
Oh, my God. Excuse me. Do you see that we're in the middle of something here? Does it look like my friend wants to fucking dance? Read the room, fucko. You need to start saying no more.
So,
Okay, that was funny.
Okay. And I could tell that you were thinking you liked some of the things that Jen was saying. So yeah, like that was I'm really glad Netflix like shared that little video, because I was really struggling with what clip to share that would perfectly encapsulate kind of like why I liked the show. But that's a really good one. And like some of those scenes, I could have showed you the whole scene because like I liked them so much because they were so strong and they showed the characters in a really good light. But yeah, like most of those lines, like before she said them, I was like screaming to my husband. I was like, why did he call her miss? Like, fuck him. And then she said that. And so same thing with the wine. I was like, does he care? Why would you comment on something that she's buying? Like, I just find myself really relating to like how the show is written from the perspective of these women. And yeah, I can't describe sort of the roller coaster that you go on when you watch it. It's very unpredictable, and the characters are so incredibly complicated, and it's about two women dealing with shit, and it's not about romance, you know, and it's not about like the typical things that you get when you have two scenes that involve two women. And I just really, really love that about it. And I'm glad it came back, and I'm glad it came back during quarantine. And yeah, so that's why it's my Mary.
Some spoilers, not huge spoilers, because like this is like I didn't watch more than the first couple episodes, but like I have questions, Brandy. So if you don't want to know anything about what happens in Dead to Me, then skip ahead, let's say 5 minutes. So I don't really remember, because I watched it and I was like, what here, I'll tell you what I remember. I like watch it, and so Christina Applegate's husband dies in like a hit and run or something, and then in a grief group she meets Linda Cardellini and they become friends. And like I remember thinking, man, if Linda Cardellini fucking killed him, then I hate this show. And then that's what happened. And I was like, okay, I quit. This sucks. Like this sucks. This is the most basic, stupid plot line. Like that, like, you know, like if I could think of like the most basic thing to ever make the beginning plot point of like a spoiler in the 3rd episode, that would be it, or whenever it is. Maybe it's the end of the 1st episode. I don't know. But that just kind of killed it for me. As it like, I could see that being the premise of the show, but don't make it like some big surprise, because that's not a surprise. That's pretty obvious, right? So anyway, that really annoyed me, and then I just labeled it basic in my mind and moved on.
Yeah, I think if you're like us and you're regular consumers of pop culture media, you probably thought right away, I bet the twist is that she did it. So I don't think the show thought it was being very clever in hiding that. The thing that I liked about season 1 is that they tell you pretty much right away that she did it. But it's more complicated than she killed this guy. There are other things at play, and there are other people at play. So it's not just outright like she killed this guy and now she's trying to like hide it and like weasel her way into this woman's life. And also you find out that information in doses, and you find out that she was the killer immediately. And also, like, that's not still a secret to Christina Applegate's character. Like, she finds out that information. Like, that's not like the secret that carries the show.
Good.
Season, like, by episode like 6 or 7 of season 1, she already knows that information, and then the rest of it is figuring out other stuff. And then season 1 ends on a different cliffhanger, and then season 2 is about that storyline. So it's to write it off too quickly. I think that you should give it another try, because I really think that there isn't quite another show out there that's like it, and it's easy to write off, I think, based on like the log line and like the trailer. Even you'd be like, oh no thanks. But that's why I like it, is because it's very deceptive and it's a lot deeper than you think.
I'll watch that.
No, I'm not watching Seinfeld.
No, I was gonna say Seinfeld. Fuck Seinfeld. What would be your second guess for what I'd make you watch?
I don't know.
Grace and Frankie.
No, I'm not watching that.
See, because everything that you just said you like about Dead to Me, Grace and Frankie is 1,000% that. And I would argue, like, I love Linda Cardellini and I love Christina Applegate, but like, if I had to live in a boat with two people for the rest of my life, it would be Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda. So
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I want to be Lily Tomlin when I grow up, but like,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah, Dolly Parton is having a moment, but like not anything against Dolly Parton, but I'm Lily Tomlin forever.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why I'm in the marital bed with Dead to Me, which you can watch seasons 1 and 2 on Netflix right now.
I'll give you a good Mary. I'll watch a few more episodes.
Just give it a shot and let me know. If you still hate it, that's totally fine. We are allowed to disagree.
Yeah.
Okay, Kristen, what are you killing this week?
I'm really excited.
I hope is it what I just said? Because that would be a weird twist.
No, I wasn't even like that. Dead to Me wasn't even on my radar. Although Netflix like pushes it to me, but
yeah.
Hang on, I gotta cue this up. Oh my god, I'm just looking at it and it makes me laugh so hard. Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna cold open on this. It's not a video. Close your eyes, actually. Are they closed?
They're closed.
All right, open them.
Oh,
So Robert Pattinson did a spread in GQ where it was groundbreaking because he did his own photo shoot and like quarantine photo shoot, and they billed it as creativity in the time of quarantine. and like, look at this motherfucking fucko. Like, what the
Barf. Fucking barf.
Oh, like,
Does he know how to close his mouth?
I think he thinks he's being really provocative. There's his mouth closed. So I will spare. I actually read it just for a good laugh, but the photos are all you need. If you ever want to just see.
Wow, that's amazing.
Like, I don't know. It's like the insanity that comes from Tom Hanks in Castaway, but without the excuse of being on a desert island for years by yourself. Then go take a look. You can read the article. It's very unintentionally funny. And like, I just look at this and I'm like, how did anyone ever find him attractive?
Yes, he's very, very weird looking.
Right?
Man,
Anyway.
quarantine does not a creative make. This proves that.
It's not loading. More of it's not loading. But I found it thoroughly delightful for all of the wrong reasons. And I can appreciate that GQ was just trying to make lemons out of lemonade. But this was just a big old, I don't know what, bad lemonade.
That's horrific and hilarious, which is the recipe for a really good kill. So good job.
All right, Brandy, what are you killing?
Okay. I am killing the plight of Pete Davidson.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not killing Pete Davidson himself because, as we say in our intro, we don't fuck, marry, or kill people. But I am killing the unwarranted opportunities continued to be thrust upon him because he is not funny and he's also not talented. So Pete's been on SNL for a few years. I don't think anyone would disagree. The people that I talk to who regularly watch SNL, agree that he is a complete waste of space on that show. The segments that they give him, he basically just plays himself. He will go weeks on end, like again, pre-quarantine, without even appearing in a single show. Maybe it's because he's in rehab. Maybe it's because he can't hack it that week. Maybe it's because he couldn't contribute anything good that week, which is just like mind-boggling because people have been cut from that show for far less. The things that he is in, even when he's not playing himself, like on Weekend Update, he's playing himself, which is just like a washed up burnout dirtbag who like thinks he's really funny, but he's not. It's obvious that Lorne and other people in Hollywood have like a soft spot for him and see something in him. Outside of SNL, first, let me talk a little bit about SNL. Like in the 3 at-home episodes that they've done, each episode, Pete's contribution has been like a shitty music video that he's like performed and recorded at his apartment. And they've all been really bad. There was one that he did with like Adam Sandler contributing from his home that was only mildly good because the Adam Sandler part was funny. But all of the other ones, it was like, okay, cool. So Pete's always wanted to do like the music video part, and now he can just like do it in his pajamas from his apartment, which by the way, looks exactly like you think it will. His comforter on one of his beds is like blown up like a basketball jersey. He had 2 air, I think, in the first episode, 1 or 2 air in the second episode, and then he had 1 air in the finale, which is insane when you think about it, because even like in the before times when SNL would have cut for time sketches that they air on YouTube only because they can't fit everything into the live show, they still have cut for time stuff that they can't fit into the show when they do the at home version. And they have that stuff on YouTube, and it's better than the shit that is Pete's music videos. But they still, in at least 2 episodes, he had 2 versions of them. And I don't know why. And they're not funny. They're very cringe inducing. Like, you can see all over his apartment with his weird LED lighting, like purple, like LED lighting around his kitchen. He's like walking around in his basketball shorts. Like, he thinks he's like being funny, like singing and rapping, and it's like really cringe inducing. But let's give him 2 4-minute slots on this hour-and-a-half program to do that. Outside of SNL, he was in a movie in 2019 that has been marketed heavily to me on Hulu because it's a Hulu original, called Big Time Adolescence, where he plays a guy who is basically a lot like himself. He's a bad influence, dropout, burnout kind of guy. And then he also, his movie just came out that he stars in, that was written and I think directed by Judd Apatow, and Pete is also credited as a co-writer, that was, it seems based on the log line, was written like about tangentially Pete's life. So I don't know if you know Pete's story, but his dad was a firefighter who died in 9/11, and that's a big part of his story. So this movie, The King of Staten Island, is about a guy who like has Arrested Development. He like never grew up after his dad died when he was a kid. And I don't want to sound insensitive, like, sure, it's a sad story, but he's basically like a lame, irresponsible, dropout, burnout kind of guy. And now he's starring in the Judd Apatow movie. And it's like, the guy can't do anything other than just play himself. And he seems like a pretty irresponsible kind of shithead. And he keeps getting all of these amazing opportunities. And I just don't understand that, because there are other people who want to have good opportunities too. And for whatever reason, he keeps getting them. And he's not funny. And I just don't get it. And I hate it. And that's why it's my kill.
It reminds me, I was watching an interview with Aubrey, I never know how to pronounce her last name, Aubrey Plaza. Is it Plaza?
It's Plaza. Mm-hmm.
The other day, and like her, like, I don't know if I've heard her story 10 Ways from Sunday about, you know, she goes in for like a read for Parks and Rec with the casting director, and she's so awkward and weird that the casting director immediately calls Michael Schur, and she's like, I've never seen such a weird person, you need to meet her like right now. And so Aubrey, who doesn't know who Michael Schur is, and she doesn't know anything, and she walks into his office and she's just like, hey, and he's like, oh my god, she's so amazing, I have to write a part for her. And it's like, like I like her more. I'm not equating her to what's his nuts, but it's this, there's this, it's like the same as in Barry, right? Like Barry, that with the HBO show, where it's like when these, like, you know, totally outclassed people show up and don't know what's up, and then, you know, everybody sees all this potential in them and they just get everything. And it's like, I think maybe just people who don't seem eager or seem withholding then have this mystique about them, and people like want to elevate that, or I don't know. Also, SNL has always had like the young screw up man part. Like, what, they remember that guy Brooks Grigson, was that his name? Brooks Wheelan was that guy for like a season.
Right, one season though. That's my thing, is that those people usually get weeded out like one or two seasons and they're gone.
He didn't get engaged to Ariana Grande and get fucking pressed every week, right? Like,
well, sure.
I mean, you know, I think part of it too is it's just a business, and even if he's not funny, I'm sure people watch it for him.
Well, and that's what makes it so gross, and what makes me even sort of more annoyed by the whole thing is that if that's why you're keeping on a guy who, you know, has serious issues, which he's talked about, you know, Pete's, substance and mental, and he has to sort of deal with those and go away multiple times a year, and he also doesn't contribute good stuff to your show, it feels very icky and exploitative. Like, to your Aubrey Plaza thing, like, I know you said you're not equating her, but like, she has given us very good content, both in movie and in TV, in different shows and movies, different roles. Pete's given us none of that. So at least, like, even if that weird, dumb Mystique thing is present in her story, she's at least like put out, right? Pete hasn't done that at all in any sense of the word. And so that's just why I just find it so annoying. Like, I'm just so over this. Let's keep throwing opportunities on, privileged white people and or untalented males who don't deserve it. So I'm not here for that. So that's why it's my pew pew kill of the week.
We can put him in a bachelor pad with Robert Pattinson and send it off to a Viking funeral.
I like that idea. Okay. That's it for this week. As always, you can give us a call at 805-628-BOOP. That's 805-628-2667. Let us know if you have any qualms with our FMKs this week, or, pose a question. We'll talk about it. Leave us a voicemail. We might just play it on the show. As always, we love you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.